Canada just revealed that the Harkles cost their taxpayers over $500,000 in security, and that number only covers the years Harry was sneaking around Toronto courting Meghan. But that is not even the most embarrassing thing to happen to Montecito Manor this week, because Tatler's best dressed list just dropped. Catherine is at the top, and there is no sign of Meghan anywhere on it. And then there is the story being floated about Harry and William possibly burying the hatchet for the 30th anniversary of Princess Diana's death. And we also needed to talk about the commentators lining up to take shots at William for his summer schedule. And finally, there are people close to the Harkles whispering that a full reversal of Megxit could be on the table. Welcome back, my Royal Rogues. My name is Jesus Enrique Rosas. I'm the Royal Rogue. Let's get down to it. Because there's something that has been sitting in a government filing in Ottawa for years, and it just found its way into the light this week. The Royal Canadian Mounted Police spent at least $500,000 protecting Harry during his visits to Canada between 2014 and 2020. And that number came out through an access to information request by CBC News. And it turns out it was significantly higher than what the RCMP had previously disclosed back in 2021, when they said the figure was around 300,000 Canadian dollars. So the real number, according to the newly released documents, is closer to 540,000 Canadian dollars. And here's the part that will make your eyes water a little. That bill covers the years Harry was flying back and forth to Toronto, quietly dating Meghan while she filmed the final series of Suits, promoting Invictus Games events and making what the documents describe as multiple cover trips. The RCMP confirmed that the cost of protecting Harry and later his wife accounted for roughly 10% of the entire budget the force spent protecting all internationally protected persons who visited Canada over that same 5-year period. So, more than 100 visitors, one prince chewing up 10% of that total. And then in January 2020, as the Harkles were publicly floating the idea of living in Canada part of the year, the RCMP estimated that keeping them and their son safe while they were there could run Canadian taxpayers close to 33,000 Canadian dollars per month. Per month! So the RCMP eventually pulled the protection, citing the fact that neither Harry nor Meghan was carrying out any official duties for the Crown on Canadian soil. So just to recap this arc, Harry shows up in Canada for years, runs up a tab that tops every other international protected visitor in the country, floats the idea of making Canada his permanent base, and then the couple decants to California, where his legal fight over British security funding continues to this day. So Gingerbread left to Canada with two things: a wife and a very large bill that other people are still talking about. And speaking of Meghan's brand ambitions, this week Tatler published its Best Dressed in Britain list for 2026. Catherine, the Princess of Wales, took the top spot. And this is the second time Catherine has held that position. She first took it in 2022, and Tatler was effusive about why she deserves it again now. The magazine singled out a yellow Roxanne ensemble she wore at Royal Ascot, a sharp blasé Milano blazer from her Italy tour, and a Roland Mouret blush tea dress she wore to Peter and Harriet Phillips' wedding earlier this year. So Tatler's line on Catherine was, in effect, that she is Britain's chicest figure, back in health and back as a champion for homegrown British designers, consistently showcasing emerging names on a world stage and making it look effortless every time. As for Meghan, she did not appear on the list. Now, But now, this is a woman who has spoken publicly about wanting to move into fashion at some point, who has positioned herself as a tastemaker and lifestyle authority, and who just launched a brand built heavily on a aesthetic identity. And Tatler, one of Britain's most influential fashion and society publications, published its entire best dressed ranking without her name appearing anywhere in it. So, yeah, Catherine is not just on the list. Catherine is the list. And Meghan, who once made People magazine's best dress in 2018, is not a footnote, not even an honorable mention, not even a runner-up, of course. She is simply absent. So the gap between the life Meghan performs for the camera and the life Britain's actual style establishment recognizes is, becoming impossible to cross. So you can launch all the strawberry jam and lifestyle content you want out of Montecito Manor. Tatler is going to keep handing the crown to the woman who actually shows up. Now, this next story has a very particular smell to it, and I want you to notice it too. The Daily Mail is running a piece this week asking whether Harry and William might call a truce to attend an event marking the 30th anniversary of Princess Diana's death. Diana died on the 31st of August 1997. That anniversary falls next month. So the framing of the piece is that there could be some kind of joint appearance, some kind of ceremonial moment where the brothers set aside their differences and show up together to honor their mother. And I want to be very clear about something. There is zero credible evidence that William has any interest in this, any intention of this, or that any such arrangement is being planned. What there is evidence of is that stories like this have a clear point of origin. When a story floats the idea of Harry and William reconciling and frames it as a possibility that is simply waiting on the right moment or the right occasion, and when that story lands in a major outlet without a named source inside Kensington Palace, and when that story happens to make William look bad if he doesn't show up, you are looking at something that was put out there deliberately. Because think about what this story does if nothing happens. If August 31st comes and goes and there's no joint appearance, no truce, no shared moment between the brothers, the story has already done its work. It has planted in the public mind the idea that Harry was open to it, that Harry was willing, that Harry, who spent years publicly dismantling his family on streaming platforms and in best-selling memoirs, was the one extending the olive branch, and William, the future king, the one who, didn't take it. So this is not a reconciliation story. This is a reputation management operation dressed up as a reconciliation story. And methane's fingerprints are on this kind of thing every single time it appears. So while we are talking about things designed to make members of the royal family look bad for clicks, let's address the Norman Baker piece that ran in the Daily Mail this week. Baker published an opinion column under the headline that William's absence have not gone unnoticed, calling him, and I am paraphrasing here, work shy, and revealing a tally of his public engagements for the year so far, presenting as evidence that the future king is not pulling his weight. And I want to say something about this, because this is a genre of a story that has a very reliable business model behind it. Attacking the royal family gets clicks. It always has, and it always will. You write a piece questioning William's work ethic, you slap a provocative headline on it, and the Daily Mail comment section lights up like a switchboard. Some readers are furious at William, some are furious at the piece, and either way, the page views roll in and Norman Baker gets another byline. So I am not going to spend a lot of time on the substance of the criticism because I think the business incentive behind it is worth naming plainly. But I will say this because I think this is important. It is the end of July. George is 13 years old and is heading to Eton in September. William is a father who has watched his wife fight through a cancer diagnosis and come out the other side. The family has had 2 years that would knock most people flat. And the idea that a father spending part of summer with his children before his eldest son starts one of the most significant transitions of his young life is somehow dereliction of duty. So that is a framing that tells you more about what generates traffic than it does about what constitutes a life well lived. So William does not owe the tabloid press a daily engagement schedule in August. He owes his family his presence, and it looks like he is choosing to give them exactly that. And finally, the story that has been percolating for a while now is getting louder. Alison Boshoff's piece in the Daily Mail this week sourced through what she described as friends of Harry, lays out a picture of a man who, according to those close to him, never actually wanted to be estranged from his family in the first place. The reporting suggests that Harry is eyeing a return to the UK, possibly as early as September, and that the Invictus Games in Birmingham in 2027 is being talked about internally as the major staging post for whatever a formal rehabilitation might look like. So the piece notes that sources who were saying 18 months ago that Harry would never come back to Britain have since changed their tune. How convenient. There's also reporting from elsewhere that Meghan is not enthusiastic about a UK return, that she has no interest in Britain, and that the tension between Harry wanting to re-enter that world and Meghan's resistance to it is a genuine point of friction inside Montecito Manor, maybe fiction as well. So what you have here is a picture that keeps taking the same shape no matter which angle you approach it from. Harry is a man who walked away from something he cannot stop looking back at. He has the legal fight running. He has the Invictus scaffolding being quietly assembled for a 2027 appearance that could pass as a triumphant return. He has sources briefing journalists in ways that frame him as the son who never stopped wanting to come home. And none of this, not a single piece of it, requires Meghan to be enthusiastic. Which is why the Sausage Squad can spin this as a love story all they want. The reporting tells a different one. A man trying to find a door back into a world that moved on without him, while his wife is reportedly not sure she wants to go anywhere near it. She still needs the titles. So what do you think? Is this a genuine attempt at a return, or is it the most elaborate PR exercise the Harkles have ever run? Let me know what you think about this in the comments. My name is Jesus Enrique Rosas. I'm the Royal Rogue. Much love and bliss.